We've all heard about cursed films. But is it possible that a film can only be cursed when you watch it? And then we descend into the mind of madness to take a look at the story of a man who lives uncomfortably close to his neighbors. In fact, he believes there's another family hiding in his walls. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio.
I'm a little freaked out. Actually, I'm a lot freaked out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing. We got a ton of stuff to cover today. So first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give it up for Narrow Phrase 5999. Woohoo, yeah, yeah, running on in. He can fit through any doorway because he's so narrow, but all of our doors are normal size, so it's not super impressive. Narrow Phrase 5999 has been getting the word out about Dead Rabbit Radio, posting about Dead Rabbit Radio online, and that is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially, just do what Narrow Phrase did. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell strangers, even. Just wander down the street yelling at the top of your lungs. Tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Narrow Phrase 5999. Let's go ahead and toss you a little steam shovel and little conductor's cap. Everyone climb on board the Carpenter caboose as Narrow Phrase chugs us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to a movie theater. Chugga 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 chugga. Nice leisurely ride aboard the Carpenter caboose. This first story's really short, because the second story's really long. I had to balance it out. And I'm just building expectations, because the first story you'll be like, oh, what? You turn your head slightly, you missed the whole segment. We're at the movie theater, and oh, look what's playing. School of Rock, starring Jack Black. And so we all buy a ticket, and we walk into the movie theater, and there he is on screen, Jack Black. I've never seen School of Rock, right? I'm assuming he is a music teacher, right? It's about a music teacher. Anyways, Jack Black is up on stage and a bunch of kids are dancing around and he's like, this isn't dance class, this is a music class. You can't dance. They're all tapping their feet to the rhythm. He's like, stop it. This is how we play guitar. And the kids are like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It's way cooler than dancing. The movie goes on and there's probably some evil land developer who wants to bulldoze over the school and build a mall. Or, I don't know, maybe not, right? You're like, wait, what? No, it's about a bunch of kids in a talent show. I don't know. Anyways, we're watching School of Rock, and all of a sudden, the movie's going on, you guys are laughing. I don't know, it's probably funny. And then at the ending, or towards the ending, Jack Black gets on stage toward the ending, and he goes, are you ready to rock? Yeah. Are you ready to School of Rock? And everyone just kind of shrugs their shoulders. They're like, I don't know what that means. All of a sudden, right before he starts singing on stage during the climax, the entire movie theater goes black. Boom. I'm like, what? What happened? Did you lean against the light switch? Did someone trip on a cord? Why is the power out here? And that's when we hear a guy in the theater. He's not one of us. He was actually here hoping to watch School of Rock for the first time. But this isn't the first time he's watched School of Rock. So this guy posted this online. He goes, it sounds inconsequential, but I do have a theory here. He goes, every time I have attempted to watch School of Rock, this has happened to him 3 separate times. He must really like the first 80 minutes of this movie. He goes, whenever it gets to the part where Jack Black gets on stage towards the end and starts to sing, power goes out. And he goes, this has happened at different times, different locations. And not only does the power go out during this scene, which would be odd, it really wouldn't be that weird the first time, right? Power goes out from time to time. His big tornadoes come and he's like, oh, in my tornado shelter, I have one movie, School of Rock, let's give this a shot. Different times, different locations. If it happened once, it would be not even notable at all. If you happened the second time, you'd be like, that's weird. But by the third time, he goes, I think I'm not supposed to watch this movie. Because not only does the power go out, there's no explanation for why the power went out. Not a big storm going on. It's not someone went and flipped the circuit breaker. And he goes, this has happened to me 3 times. I've never told anyone about this ahead of time. So, I mean, that would be the easiest thing, right? You tell your buddies, you're like, yeah, it's super weird. Every time I watch School of Rock, the power goes out. Your friends say, well, let's watch School of Rock. And then one of them is downstairs. He's all trying to listen to the movie. He's like, oh, I can't watch the movie, but I'll hear that cue when Jack Black starts singing. I'll throw the circuit breaker, power will go out. We'll pull a good old prank on our buddy. He goes, I've never told anyone about this so they could set it up ahead of times. He goes, 3 separate times. Whenever I've tried watching School of Rock, the only 3 times he's tried watching School of Rock, power always goes out when Jack Black gets on stage towards the end to sing. And we go, it's still probably just a coincidence. But it's possible that this guy, online he goes by the name CIA Pizza Party, which, right there, I know 100 conspiracy theorists, and myself included. It's like, that's a weird name. It's probably as close as you could get to having your username be Pizzagate without Reddit automatically shutting down your account. He goes, not only does this happen when I have tried watching School of Rock, every time he attempts to watch Forrest Gump, he becomes violently ill. Now that is something you would note right away. You're watching it. I don't know, Jenny. I'm supposed to be making shrimp. He watches this movie. This guy's allergic to shrimp. He's like, oh no, blah. Throwing up. He goes, I get violently ill. I begin vomiting and I get a really, really high fever. Like, it's not just I'm upset by the contents of the movie. He's like shaking hands with Richard Nixon. What a disgrace. Blah, he's thrown up. No. He actually develops a physical illness. He begins vomiting and has a high fever. And so here's the funny thing. He's watched School of Rock 3 times and it's been shut off all 3 times. And again, not just the television loses power. The house that he's in loses power. He goes, I have attempted to watch Forrest Gump at least 4 separate times. Everyone's like, dude, it's a great movie. You haven't watched it? Oh, come on, let's put it in. He's like, no. You're all strapping him down like Clockwork Orange. He goes at least 4 times, possibly more. At least 4 times I've sat down to watch Forrest Gump. I've become violently ill. You go, well, Jason, maybe it's just this guy, right? Maybe this guy, maybe he has epilepsy, right? I don't know how that would do the power outage, but maybe Forrest Gump has some flashing lights or something in it. Maybe he hates people who can run really fast. Who knows? But he becomes violently ill. Now, what's interesting is I was reading this and I thought, I have a story just like that. There's a movie that I've attempted to watch multiple times in the theater. I've never rented it. I've never watched it on streaming all the way through. Because this happened so many times at the theater, I was like, I don't want this happening in my house. The movie is Can't Hardly Wait. Can't Hardly Wait. It was the movie with Jennifer Love Hewitt, and I think Seth Green was in it, and you had all these teen actors, and I don't even really remember the plot. I think it was about a party, and all these beautiful people are at this party, and it's kind of like the tribulations they were going through, and Jenna Elfman showed up halfway through as an angel, and I went to go see it. It wasn't opening weekend, but it was maybe the next weekend after it. I took a date to go see Can't Hardly Wait at this movie theater down in Sacramento, and a fist fight broke out. And so we all left. I'm trying to look over the bloodied combatants. I'm like, sit down in front, you 2 maniacs. I'm trying to watch this movie. Will Jennifer Love Hewitt hang out with the nerd? Fight broke out, and it broke out, and we all had to leave. It was like that level of fight. It wasn't like 2 people arguing over Jenna Elfman's career. It was people punching each other in the face over, I think someone was smoking outside and then came in and blew smoke in some girl's face or something like that. And then it just simmered for the next 80 minutes of this movie, and then before I could finish watching the film, these 2 guys started punching each other in the face. So we left, and I was like, oh, I didn't get to see the ending of that movie. So a couple weeks later, or maybe the next week, I went with a different girl to the same movie theater. Fight broke out right towards the end of the movie. Again, like a melee. And you go, Jason, maybe this movie theater was in a bad neighborhood. It wasn't not in a great, to be fair, it was not in a great neighborhood. But I remember walking out the second time. We left because this huge fight's breaking out. I'm walking away and I was like, I don't know how this movie ends. This was before the internet. I wasn't able to look it up online and see spoilers. I was like, oh, true love did win in this romantic comedy for teens. I'm walking out of the theater, people are getting shot behind me. Ah! I'm all walking slowly so I can turn back and look at the screen. The medics can't get in soon enough. No, nobody died. It was just, people punching each other as hard as they could in the face. These weren't just like scuffles. And so we're walking out of the theater, and there's a fight going on in the dark behind me. I'm not getting in the middle of that. And I was like, dude, this is the second time I've tried watching this movie. A fight always breaks out in the end. And by that time, if I remember correctly, the movie left theaters. Because again, it was spaced out a couple weeks. And I was like, oh, that sucks. I kind of really wanted to watch that movie. I ended up buying the soundtrack. That was my compromise. I'm driving through town and playing the soundtrack super loud. People walking down the street are getting enraged, punching each other. I was like, oh, this soundtrack's so good. I've never seen the end of that movie. Because the 2 times I tried watching it, a fight broke out right towards the end. It was almost at the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And I don't want to watch it now. I mean, I do, actually. I'm curious. I think at some point I did look up the plot. It was kind of what I expected, right? The hot girl ends up with the dork. But I was like, I don't want to watch it because it's happened twice now. The first time, whatever, you're in a bad neighborhood. The second time, listen, there were fights in the theaters, but usually they weren't in teen romantic comedies. I was like, I don't want to really watch it, because what if I get it now, I can stream it, and I'm getting towards the end, and I go, I've never seen this part. And the cops kick in my door, and they're beating me up. I was like, what did I do? They're like, we don't know. We're just driven to punch. I'm like, I'm trying to watch the movie in between their flurry of fists. I am reluctant to finish watching Can't Hardly Wait because of the 2 times when I tried watching it. Violence broke out right in front of me, too. It was usually I remember the first time it was the row in front of me. The second time, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 rows in front of me. So it's like I had a perfect view of the fight. Couldn't have been fighting in the bathroom or in the parking lot or where it wouldn't ruin the movie. They had to have the fight right there. So I wonder if there is a thing about personalized cursed films. That's kind of where I'm getting at. I said I had a theory, and I think I have more of a question. This is a question to you guys. Because again, on this show, one of the things we like to look at is we find a story that, we've never heard about this before. A guy who can't finish School of Rock because the power goes out. And he can't watch Forrest Gump because he becomes violently ill. And then I go, wait a second, I have a story like that. I've never seen Can't Hardly Wait. I'm reaching out to you guys. Do you guys have any stories like this? I'm really curious to know. Is this just a one-off or a 2-off event? Are me and this dude the only ones? Which I doubt. I'm sure among the listeners of this show, you may go, hey, that actually reminds me. I've never been able to watch Thomas the Tank Engine Saves England or whatever movie. Every time we put that movie in when I was a kid, I'd be watching it and then fill in the blank. I don't even know what it would be for you. You're like, oh, nothing. I enjoyed that movie. Thomas the Tank Engine valiantly in World War II. Is there a movie out there that has things like that for you? Or a television show, even? I really liked Breaking Bad, but every time we get to the last episode, I get horrible gout. My knees swell up. And then I just have to rewatch the whole series over again. And hope this time my knees don't turn the size of cantaloupe. So I'm curious, do you guys have something like this? I don't think it's a one-off event. I think it's one of those stories that is so borderline paranormal. It's almost not even that. It falls into the realm of synchronicity. I think it's one of the stories that's so, what category would you put it in? I bet a lot of people have a movie that fits this, but they don't tell people about it. We'll share our ghost stories. We'll share our UFO sightings if we're in the right crowds, obviously. But something like this, who would you bring it up to? So I'm reaching out to you guys. Do you guys have a movie or a particular piece of media that every time you've tried to engage with it, something bad happens? And shoot me up. Don't shoot me up. Actually, you're like, oh, you're going to watch Can't Hardly Wait soon. Okay, I will load my shotgun. Don't shoot me up. Hit me up is what I meant to say. And not literally. Yeah, shoot me an email, deadrabbitradio@gmail.com, or wherever you talk to me, right? Some guys use YouTube, some guys use Facebook. But yeah, I'm curious. I think other people are feeling this. I expect a lot of emails, actually, for this. Narrow phrase 5999. Let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the world famous Carpenter Copter. We are leaving behind the movie theater. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Utah? We're going to take a look at the curious case of a man. And you know what's really interesting is this isn't a strictly a gang stalking story. I don't think it falls into that category. But it is the story about a man who is extremely paranoid that he is under surveillance. Not while he's walking down the street so much, but just in his own home. But what's interesting about this, like just starting off a little bit of an intro, he is very, very paranoid, and he is believes that people are constantly monitoring him, and yet he wrote such a long post that he actually, and I don't think he did this intentionally, but he gave away the city he lives in, or used to live in, where this story took place. We'll get to where he's at now, which is Hurryman, Utah, or Hurryman, Utah. And I'm reading this huge wall of text, I'm looking through it, and maybe about 3/4 of the way down, I believe he used his real name. And we'll use that name as well, Darren. So it's very interesting that I've seen this happen before. People who are really obsessed with privacy and their paranoia is kind of driving all of their decisions. They will actually reveal key information about themselves online that most quote-unquote normal people don't want anyone to know online, being the city and state where you live in and your real name. So I thought that was interesting. I was reading this narrative, and then right towards the end, someone says, Darren, put that down, or whatever, and I go, oh, dude, this guy doesn't realize. I don't think he realized he put his real name in here. Anyways, the year we believe is 2019, based on the timeline. We're meeting Darren. He's 20 years old, and he's living in this house with his family. But this is an extended family because his uncle lives there, his aunt lives there, his cousins live there. He lives there, and I also believe his mother and father are also in the house, but that is later in the narrative. But we do know he shares a house with at least his aunt and his uncle and his cousins. Back in 2019, Darren's uncle comes up to him and goes, hey, Darren, I discovered something weird in your room. Darren's like, what could it be? He's all sweating. He's like, oh no, there's a lot of weird stuff in there, Uncle. Uncle goes, no, come here, look. And the uncle points up at the ceiling and he goes, Darren, you see that? You see that up in your ceiling? That's a camera. Someone installed a camera in your bedroom ceiling. Darren's like, what? Like, who would do that? I don't know. Uncle walks away. I mean, here's the thing. You're like, wait, did they uninstall the camera? Is it still there? Get ready for multiple questions throughout this story. I believe they uninstalled it, but I'm not for sure. Anyways, a couple weeks later, one of Darren's cousins, who's 8 years old, begins telling the people in the house, hey, you guys want to hear something weird? And absolutely terrifying? The other day, I was downstairs in the house, and I saw an old man walking down the hallway. And they're like, what? There's no old people here. Oh, I know. That was the terrifying weird part of it. If I just saw my dad walking by, I wouldn't have told anybody. Saw an old man walking in the hallway downstairs. And Darren, this really rattles him. This really freaks him out because he's starting to go, wait a second, there's a camera in my ceiling, which may or may not have been uninstalled. Now there's an old man walking around the house. He starts to get worked up about this. He wants to know who the old man is, where the old man's at now. Is he in our house? Does he have a key? Like, do we get a break-in? To the point that Darren's aunt says, hey, honey, that actually didn't happen. Your cousin was having a dream. He didn't actually see an old man walking through the house. I mean, obviously, we would be far more concerned if we thought there was an elderly burglar living here. It was just a dream. Don't freak out about it. But that doesn't soothe Darren's paranoia. He really does believe that there's an old man walking around the house that is not a ghost. It's a person, and somehow he's able to get in and out of the house without being detected, except one time a little boy saw him walking around. A couple months later, yeah, it does look like, looking over at my notes, does look like they removed the camera. A couple months later, though, Darren was sitting in his bedroom, and he hears something. Can't figure out what the noise is, and he looks up. He's looking at his ceiling, and he sees the tip of a drill bit poke through the ceiling. He saw someone drill a hole in his ceiling, and he's looking at it, and he's like, what in the world is that? Well, obviously, it's not a question. The big question is, who is that? He's looking up, and he hears the drill get activated again, and it's coming back in, and it's making the hole just a little bit bigger. And he goes, who's up there? Who's drilling holes in my ceiling? And the noise stops. And he's sitting there, looking up, and then he hears... They continue to drill this hole in his ceiling. He goes, what are you guys doing? Who's up there? What are you guys doing? That is when Darren hears a voice answer him. Darren hears a voice say, in response to his question, what are you doing? The voice says, nothing, if you don't want to die. Now, grammatically speaking, it's kind of a weird threat. I personally would say, some guy's all drilling a hole in my ceiling. I was like, nope, I don't think that English is good enough, good sir. Can you rephrase that, please? It's a death threat. It's oddly worded. What are you doing? Nothing if you don't want to die? I'd be like, what? Little pieces of drywall are falling on my head and scratching my head. I go, oh, what does that mean? But Darren's not thinking that. Darren's not worried about the grammar. He's worried about the people in his ceiling. And that's really where this story kicks off. The people in the ceiling. He says this, quote, I was completely amazed at the fact that there were people somehow living in the ceiling. Of course, his quote continues, now I am aware it was done with robotics, as it has been shown to me in person since then. Unquote. Darren is talking to the voices in the ceiling, right? They just threatened his life, and he goes, oh, there's a bunch of people living up there. Maybe I'll have a conversation with them. Apparently, we're going to be neighbors for a while. And again, like, he doesn't really dwell on the fact that they just threatened to kill him. He does start talking to these voices. And he goes, listen, I'm not going to tell anybody that you're living in the ceiling. Don't worry about me. I'm not going to tell anyone. No one would believe me anyways. This voice begins to explain to him that there are multiple people living in the walls and the ceiling. And that voice is a male voice, but now he hears a female voice go, ooh, is that him? Ooh, he's handsome. He's a cutie. And Darren's listening to these voices. This female voice is flirting with him. Ooh, you know what? Darren? Is that your name, Darren? I love you, Darren. I love you more than anyone else in this family, your family. Because they're so loud. But you, Darren, ooh, I love you. And Darren is like smitten, right? Sexy female voice. He didn't say that it was sexy specifically. That's my own headcanon. Ooh la la. It sounded like Jessica Rabbit. Sultry, sexy female voice. Male voice that has a power drill. So you don't want to get on his bad side. Plus he's above you. If you make him mad, he's just going to kick through the ceiling. Put a power drill through your head. He goes, guys, you know what? Since we're going to be living together because you guys are on the ceiling, is there anything I can do for you? Okay. Is there anything I can do for you? And the voices say, yeah, you know what would be really great? We're really hungry up here in the ceiling. Can you go get us some food? Yeah, totally. It's super easy to do. What do you want me to just like throw it up at the ceiling? No. Just leave the food down there. Just get us a plate of food and leave it. And then we will come down and get it at a later time. But man, we're hungry. Can you get us some food? And Darren's like, yeah, totally. So he goes to the fridge. He's putting together some food, throwing some meat and some bread and cheese. I don't know, making sandwiches or something like that. He makes up this food and he takes it back to the bedroom and he puts it on the ground. He knows they're going to eat it eventually. That's when Darren goes, hey guys, it's really cool hearing your hearing your disembodied voices coming from my ceiling. But is it possible that I could have your phone number? Because that way you could text me when you wanted something. And the voices go, you know what, actually that's a really good idea. Instead of using this disembodied voice, how about we just text you? And Darren goes, okay, great. He pulls out his cell phone. He goes, okay, so what's your phone number? And the voices give him their phone number and he types it in and he goes to send a message and it says, message not sent, invalid phone number. Darren's like, what? I think you gave me the wrong phone number, guys. It's not letting me send anything. And then the voices go, oh, yeah, I think we messed it up. Here, let's give you another phone number. And so they do. They give him another phone number, and he types it in, and he sends the message, and it says, message not sent. This is an invalid phone number. Or however the error message would appear on this. This goes on. Darren asking for the voice's phone number, the people living in a ceiling. He goes, hey, guys, this is a super simple question. Give me your phone number. We can text each other. Darren says this went on for 2 hours. They kept giving him phone numbers that either didn't work or were not the people in his ceiling. I mean, there's a chance they're giving him random phone numbers and he's messaging some mom in Salt Lake City being like, hey, so I left the food on the floor. Will you please stop drilling in my ceiling? Darren. And some mom's like, huh? What? What does that mean? Who sent me this? For 2 hours, they gave him phone numbers that didn't work. So finally, after 2 hours, he goes, okay, guys, this clearly is not working. I've been blocked from half the phones in Utah for sending such weird messages. Tell you what, guys, why don't I give you my phone number and then you can text me? That might work. That might be a little bit easier because this system isn't working. And the voices go, oh, that'd be a great idea, Darren. So Darren goes, okay, my number is 555-7892. And the voices go, okay, 555-7893. He goes, no, 555-7892. Oh, we got it. 555-7992. No! This goes on. This goes on for an indeterminate amount of time. He goes, every time I gave him my phone number, they would repeat it back to me, but there'd always be one digit off. And no matter what I did, no matter how slow I said it, they would always repeat it back to me with one digit off. This goes on and on and on and on. Until eventually, Darren writes this, quote, I found out this is just the way they mess with people, because later that day, they told me they don't use phones, unquote. They don't even have a phone, and they kept this guy doing this for hours. Imagine having a delusion that trolls you for hours, 2 hours of punching in the wrong number, and then at the ending they're like, we don't have a phone anyways. It's actually kind of funny. I mean, I'm not laughing at this guy's mental illness. I'm laughing at the fact, even if it wasn't voices from the ceiling, this would actually be pretty funny to do to somebody. Somebody really wants your number, and you just keep giving them the wrong one. Now, I would imagine most people wouldn't do it for 2 hours after you did it 5 times. They would just walk away. They're like, what a jerk. This relationship carries, that'll happen the first day. All of that stuff, him talking to the voices, the drilling in the hole, like that all happened in one day, the phone stuff. But then over the course of days after that, he starts to realize something. The voices keep asking him to bring them food, and he does. He makes them a meal, and he puts it on a plate, and he takes it up to his room, and they never eat it. There's just... There's just plates of food sitting in this guy's room of uneaten meals. Now, I'm not the cleanest man myself, right? You may come over and there's some bowl of spaghetti that I've eaten. Right, I've eaten it. That's what makes me different than those lunatics. I eat my food. I may not immediately put the bowl in the sink, but I eat it. You're like, Jason, that's equally disgusting. It's not just like, that's not why they're worse than you, because they're wasting food. It's gross to have unwashed dishes laying around. It is. It is. But I do think there's something to be said as I defend my own filthiness. If I have a bowl of spaghetti and I've eaten all the spaghetti, so now it's just the bowl, it's been sitting there for a day or two. It was just gross, but I don't have any of these bowls out right now. But the other day I did get a bowl of ice cream from the local ice cream shop. And it was a brownie ice cream sundae. And I ate it. I ate everything, right? And then the bowl that just had a little bit of like ice cream on the sides that sat next to my chair for a couple days. Maybe not a couple days. I'm like, wow, we're going to call Health and Human Services. Not a couple days. Well, I will say this. One, it was a couple days, but I wasn't there for a lot of them. The ice cream bowl, all the ice cream on the sides had completely dried up. There's a little bit of brownie here and there. And I threw the bowl away. That's fine. Right? That's totally normal. And the bowl was disposable too. I'm not throwing away like ceramic bowls. I'm like, I'm not going to watch this. Smash. No, here's the thing. Like, was it the most hygienic thing in the world? No. I was actually kind of hoping my aunts would take care of it, but it's too far away for them. My aunts have become super lazy. And you're like, your aunts? What are you talking about? That's a long story. We're not going to get into my aunt collection that is free roaming in my apartment. But anyways, the point is like, I'm not crazy. Look at these guys. They're tricking him. The voices are saying, we want food, we're hungry, and he'll bring them a plate of food and set it there, and they don't eat it. And these plates are piling up. And he's like, why are you guys being mean to me? You guys said you wanted this sandwich. You wanted this squash or whatever. You wanted me to make a 4-course meal. You made me watch The Bear and learn how to cook. And I made you this meal. And it's just sitting there. It's just this dish. It's like spinach-filled raviolis with a light creamy sauce. It's just sitting there. He's like, why are you guys being so mean to me? Well, they explain why they're being so mean to him. They go, listen, man, we're going to be honest with you. We are evil. We're actually very evil. We belong to an evil cult. And what we are doing in your house, we have done to multiple houses before. What we do is we move into people's houses and live in the ceiling. And we watch them. We spy on them. We report this information back to whoever is paying us. The voices say sometimes we work for the government, sometimes we work for a private organization, but we get paid to spy on people, and sometimes, depending, right, on who the people are in the house, whether or not they're talking about us, telling people about us, whether or not we just don't like them. Sometimes we get orders to do this, sometimes we just don't like them. But sometimes we will murder everyone in the house and then burn it to the ground. So, you're bringing us food, you're acting like we're buddies and all, but you need to understand that at any point we could kill everyone in this house, including you, and burn the house to the ground. And we do it because it's fun. Like, sure, we get paid to live in the ceiling, but we love this work. We love being evil people. Darren goes, well, who pays you? That's an interesting question, right? And they go, well, their specific answer is, quote, everyone and no one, is how they responded to him. They also said sometimes after we kill everyone, we ransack the house, we take all the valuables out, and then we burn the house down. So that's another way they make money. But then at a later, that would be alarming, right? Before we breeze past that, you have an evil cult living in your ceiling. It's not just normal. There are no normal people who live in your ceiling, to be fair. But it could be like, oh, we're scientists and we want to observe the human condition. There is no one living in a ceiling, by the way, if that's not clear yet. This is all in his head. But there are some interesting details. There was a camera up there, right? We'll get to that. There aren't actually people living in a ceiling, but imagine if they said, oh, we're scientists and we're trying to understand the perfect human specimen. You, Darren, we're going to watch everything you do. By the way, we're really hungry. He's like, come on, man. They're like, yeah, can you go pick us up some In-N-Out burgers? He's like, what? That's like across town. That's a 40-minute drive. Oh, we're so hungry. Even the scientists are trolling him. But there could be good people that you're delusional about. Then there can be an evil cult that's talking about murdering you. Everyone in your home. Darren's having conversations with these voices, and he goes, well, are you guys homeless? Do you guys have like a home? Are you guys like bums off the street that get paid? Because why would you live in my ceiling if you had a place to live? And the voices go, oh, no. We actually, this is our workspace. We don't live in your ceiling. We actually go home. We have a nice home with a nice washing machine. They specified that. I was like, what? That's weird brag. I was like, oh, do you have a dryer? They're all, no. They go, no, we don't actually live in here. We work in here, but we are not homeless. We go home to our place and we have a washing machine. And also, Darren, we make like a ton of money. We make more money than you could ever make in your entire life. Like in between getting paid to live in people's ceilings. He's like, hey, you guys hiring? I can work for an evil cult. But then at a later date, Darren asks the question again. He goes, are you guys homeless? And this time the voices go, are you an idiot? Of course we're homeless, you moron. We're living in your ceiling. Do you think anyone who had a place to live would live in your ceiling? And two things happen when they contradict their story, right? He's like, what? Like, so what is it? Are they homeless? Like, it's not a in between there. That's a pretty either or question. Are you homeless or not homeless? First they said, no, we work here, but we have our own home. Now they're like, you're an idiot. Who would want to live in a ceiling, which is a fair argument, right? Who would want to live in a ceiling? The only reason we're up here, Darren, is because we're homeless. We don't have a home. You're an idiot. And this particular exchange, when they were calling him stupid for saying, of course we're homeless, made Darren cry. Because these were his friends. Sure, they threatened to murder everyone in the home. They're hiding in a ceiling. They're playing pretty mean pranks on him. But they're his friends. And being called an idiot by your friend, just really got to him. And he says this is not the first time they've made me cry. I've cried since as well. Through the rest of these stories. He goes, they would really torment me, and I'd be crying, like, why are my friends treating me like this? Darren writes, quote, I was spending multiple hours doing every exhausting thing they asked for, and would end up looking like a crying lunatic multiple times a day. Unquote. So that's interesting, right? Because remember, he's not living alone. There's other people in this house. And he's not telling them about the voices. He's not telling them why he's always bringing plates of food into his bedroom and they're not leaving clean. There's just, he brings in food and either the plate just disappears, maybe it's a paper plate. They're like, is he really eating that much food? That's enough to feed a family in a ceiling. But the rest of the family is watching him just like break down sobbing, walking through the house. And you'd see him walk to the fridge. I don't know why I'm so hung up on that detail, but he's all throwing some Cheetos on a plate. Uncle's like, I was gonna eat that. Putting on more Cheetos. Oh, bag's empty. Oh, throws the bag away. Oh, great poupon. The good mustard. Oh, extra mustard for my friends in the ceiling. Uncle's like, I don't even want to ask. I don't even want to know what's going on anymore. I don't. He's walking back to his room with a sandwich and Cheetos. The rest of the family is like, dude, what in the world is going on? All he does is stay in his room all day long. And when we do see him, he's raiding the fridge. And every so often, he's just crying. Crying. Darren himself used the term crying lunatic. That's what he looked like. The voices would begin tormenting Darren in other ways. One of the things they did is they'd be like, hey, dude, you know what? We want to watch Sanford and Son. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if that show's anywhere available for streaming. Wasn't that show from the 70s? I'll see if I can find it. And Darren would turn on the TV and we'd be watching Sanford and Son, and the voices would be like, oh, yeah, this is my favorite show. You know what, though? Let's watch WKRP in Cincinnati. And Darren would be like, what's that show? Oh, it's an old show from the 70s show. And I'll see if I can find it. Finds it. Watching that. And then the voices go, you know what? Actually, I want to watch the new season of Survivor. Okay, I mean, I'm sure it's on streaming. Watch it. And then the voices would say, you know what? I want to watch a movie. I want to watch The Matrix Revelations. You're lying. Nobody wants to watch that movie. And the voices are like, oh, you got us. The voices what they would do is they would say, we want to watch a television show. And they would watch 2 minutes of the show, and then they'd go, nah, we don't want to watch this one. We want to watch something else. So Darren would turn the channel to something else. They'd watch 2 minutes of, no, we don't want to watch this show. We want to watch something else. And they would torment him that way. They would keep making him change the channel over and over and over again. Which, that would be annoying. Now, would you do it? No. Would I do it? No. But if you thought your only friends in the world were demanding that you do it, you probably would keep it up for a while. Get blisters on your thumb hitting that remote. But speaking of blisters, the voices had another task for him, which is probably the most sinister of all. They go, hey, listen, we're not just voices up in your ceiling. We're people. Right? We're people up here in your ceiling. And what do people like to do, Darren? They like to have sex. So I'm going to have sex with this sexy voice over here. Hello, Darren. Yeah, we're going to have sex. But we have this weird kink. If you can imagine people in an insane evil cult who live in your ceiling, they don't have normal sexual desires. We have this weird kink. We're going to have sex, and you're going to hear us have sex. But we want you to masturbate while we're doing it. So that gets us off, knowing that someone's masturbating while we're having sex. So he did it. He would masturbate whenever they asked him to. But this also ended up being a cruel prank as well. Because the voices eventually said, oh, you know what, we actually don't have that kink. We thought it was really funny. You masturbate really weird, and it's like kind of sad and pathetic. So we wanted to watch you masturbate. In fact, we weren't even having sex. They go, no, we just thought it was funny. We just liked watching you, not in a sexual way. We liked watching you in a make fun of you way. You masturbating. It's sad. That one is really sad. I think out of all of them, the food thing's pretty funny. The changing the channel thing's pretty funny. But saying, hey, you can be part of our sex life. We like to watch people masturbate while we have sex. Weird, right? That's odd. But then to be like, oh no, we made up the kink. We just thought it'd be funny to trick you into masturbating. Yeah, that's pretty grotesque. And at this point, the voices, they really let it all out. They begin telling him, listen, we're going to wrap this up soon. This whole idea of us living in the ceiling, you know what we talked about before about murdering the family, burning the house down. We're getting to that stage. We're going to torture your cousins. because both the cousins are young, 8 years old, I think was the oldest, and then the other one was younger. We're going to kill your cousins. We're going to torture them first. When we finally do crawl out of the ceiling and reveal ourselves to you, when the job assignment is finally wrapped up, we're going to cut you open, and then we're going to rape you. So huge escalation, right? From all of these pranks to straight out now threatening to kill his cousins, threatening to sexually violate him. At this point, Darren begins to engage in self-harm. He's cutting himself, and while he's doing that, the voices are still watching him. They're laughing. This is kind of where they wanted him to be. And he would have this dialogue. He wrote this out, which I'm going to, sometimes when I'm reading quotes, I'll blur out the cuss words or anything like that. I'm going to read this as written, because again, I think that it shows what's going on in his mind. There are not people living in the ceiling. This is this battle that's going on in his mind. So I'm going to read it unedited, not safe for work, but he says, quote, this has come to this head where he's cutting himself. This is towards the end. They're laughing at him. He goes, quote, "Why would you do that to me? I've done everything to be nice to you guys. I thought you guys liked me." The voices said, "We don't like you. We hate your fucking guts. We hate everything you stand for. You disgust us. We would never be your friend, you small-dicked loser." Darren replies, "Well, even if you think that, I still think you're my friend, and I would never say that about you." The voices begin talking amongst each other, and one of them says, quote, "Dude, what the fuck is wrong with him?" Darren said for the rest of that day, he just sat there in his room, silently crying. The next day, he sees there's something carved in the ceiling of his room, and it says, "We are a cult that kills people. If you ignore us, we go away. We say we are leaving when people discover us, and they forget about us." Which, again, weird. Like, what is that? I mean, obviously, if you saw something written in your ceiling, no matter what it was, but what does that even mean? I get the first part. If you ignore us, we go away. But then it'd be very interesting to discover someone and then forget about them, especially if they're living in your ceiling. And you go, well, Jason, is this... The voice is actually reaching out to him, giving him an out. Saying, if you want us to go away, we will. You just have to ignore us. But the problem is, I mean, again, this is a hallucination. He's hallucinating. I believe, right? I guess maybe you could argue that there's some spiritual component to this. I don't think there's actually physical people living in the walls, but I think it's all in his head. Is it possible that they were giving him a clue of how this needs to end is for him to ignore them? The problem is that Darren is so lonely, he would rather be friends with psychotic killers who threaten to rape and murder him than to have no friends at all. If the key is to ignore them and they will go away, he doesn't want to ignore them because those are his friends. Those are his only friends. One day, Darren is walking around the house. He's downstairs and he sees an old man walking around. Darren completely flips out and begins running around the house screaming about the old man. And for the first time, because, his family is like, what in the world's going on? Darren, why are you freaking out? For the first time, he tells his uncle, his aunt, his cousins, all of them, about the family living in the ceiling. The food being taken into his bedroom. The voices telling him that the cousins are going to get killed. They're going to burn down the house. All of it. For the first time, he's telling everyone in the house, there's people living in the ceiling, and all of this insanity is just spilling out of him. And of course, nobody believes him. Nobody believes them. They're like, Darren, what did you take? What did you take? We know you're high. What did you take? He's like, I'm not high. I'm not on drugs. I'm telling you, there's a family living in the ceiling, and I just saw an old man walking around, and We got to get out of here, guys. We got to get out of here. They're going to kill us all. He says, Darren says, quote, this is a very, very interesting part of this whole story, and it kind of just starts to wrap stuff up. We're coming to the end. Quote, I keep trying to convince my dad and aunt, the dad is definitely involved at this point. I keep trying to convince my dad and aunt everything was real. And the people in the walls have always been here. That it was their camera they found in my cousin's room. And they just kept asking me what I took. Unquote. The camera was real. 100% the camera was real. It was uninstalled. And the family wondered why the camera was in the cousin's room. Who put the camera there? And he's saying they did. The people on the ceiling did. I wonder, because the camera is a real thing. It was really installed, and they did uninstall it. Did Darren install the camera himself? Because he denies it. It's not mine. Well, he doesn't specifically say in this. He goes, it wasn't mine. He goes, it was theirs. So there has been a question in this household over who installed the camera in the bedroom. And you go, but wait a second, Jason. Originally you said the camera was in his room. And he saw the drilling on the ceiling in his room and the people who have been talking to him from his room, but now you're saying the camera's from the cousin's room. The camera they found was in the cousin's room. I don't know why anyone thought this was a good idea. It turns out, we find this at the end of the narrative as he's writing this up, Darren sleeps in the same room as his cousins. He sleeps in the same room with his 8-year-old cousin, however young his other cousin is. So all of these events, the silently sobbing, the plates of food, the perpetual masturbation prank. I'm not going to say he was masturbating when the cousins were in the room. But it's very, very weird to think that this family believes when he starts running around screaming that he's seen something that their only question is, what did you take? What did you take? He's a drug user who's having delusions. Whether or not they knew about the people in the ceiling, that was his specific delusion. He was acting weird. And yet, when all the lights were being shut off and everyone was getting ready for bed, the cousins shared a bedroom with Darren. Again, like, I understand, listen, in an emergency situation, family comes first. I get that. You go, listen, this guy needs a place to stay. He can't be here, there for whatever reason. You can share a room with our cousins, or our kids, your cousins. But the second a video camera showed up in the ceiling of my children's room, you say you don't know where it came from, but listen, I know I didn't put it up there, and my wife didn't put it up there, and my kids didn't put it up there. You're not hanging out at my house anymore if I think you installed a camera in my kid's bedroom. And there is no answer to this mystery. We don't know who installed the camera. By the time we get to the end of the story, so much of it is delusional, but the camera was real, and it was really installed in that ceiling. So the question is, did Darren do it himself? That's really the only possibility, unless you believe there were people living in his ceiling this whole time. But it really restructured, because, I mean, listen, I'm telling it to you the same way I read it, where I'm reading the whole thing, and I'm like, dude, this guy's nuts. This is an insane story. And then it turns out that all of this stuff happens. He's running around telling people about all of this stuff that's been going on for months, people in the ceiling. No one believes him. He goes, I'm not on drugs, I'm not high. By the way, when he posts online, he posts in a lot of drug subreddits. He's posting on the stim subreddits, which is stimulants like methamphetamines or other drugs like that. So if he's not on drugs right now, he's definitely a fan of them and has used them in the past, and he probably does use them now as well. I'm not for sure, but when you look at his posting history, he posts on drug subreddits. Talking about stimulants, talking about meth. So it does make sense that they're asking him, what are you on? What are you on? Well, anyways, this all kind of comes to a head. 6 months Later, after Darren has revealed to everyone in the house what's really going on, he's in his bedroom, he's asleep, and his cousin's sleeping there as well. The way that it's set up is that Darren is sleeping in the bed, and then his cousin is sleeping apparently on the ground at the foot of the bed. So Darren gets the bed, the kids are on the ground. Darren is woken up in the middle of the night when 3 men in hazmat suits walk into the room. They're each carrying a gun and a knife. They sit down on the bed and just stare at Darren. And that is when Darren hears from the ceiling the voices say, "Do you really want your whole family to die tonight? Is that what you want? You want us to kill everyone in this house? Because we will if you keep telling people about us." The day after that, Darren is just hanging out in his room, and the voices say, "You know what, Darren, we actually, we think you're a really good guy. We think you're a great guy, to be honest. And we'd love to continue to be friends with you. We've kind of grown to love you over this time, but we can't. Here's the thing: the whole point of this, Darren, was to drive you crazy, was to make you hate us so much. But no matter what we did to you, you never stopped being nice. We pulled pranks. We threatened you with incredible levels of violence. We threatened to kill everyone in the house. While last night we just had 3 goons coming in hazmat suits and once again threaten your life. They were armed. They were ready to do it. But you still have never stopped being nice to us. So we don't know what to do now, the voices said. We don't know how to progress from this point because this hasn't happened before. Usually at another house, we do all the same stuff. Person hates us, and then we murder the whole family, steal all the stuff, and set it on fire. But, we're kind of at a loss over the next phase of this plan. So we're going to do something we don't normally do, Darren. We're going to give you some advice. You need to move to Florida. If you move to Florida, we can tell you you're going to have an awesome life. Things are really going to work out for you. But only if you move to Florida. Darren writes, quote, I talked to them a little bit more after that and got in the same sort of fights. Ones where they said they hated me and wanted to kill me. But deep down, I truly question if they actually do. Unquote. Darren does take the advice of the voices from the ceiling. He does move to Florida, and that is where he is at currently. As of 2025, he's living in Florida. He is posting on methamphetamine and stimulant subreddits. But, you know, that's not a great life. That's not a life I would choose for myself. It's not a life I would advocate. But it might be better than where he was at. We just have this one narrative. Like I said, we don't have a whole scope of the family dynamics. We just know that he moved to Florida. And according to him, things are better. Life is better than it was before. Darren wraps up this story with, quote, I still spend some days crying, but most days I don't. I sometimes listen for the voices, but they never were quite like they were at that house. Unquote. So, here's the thing, right? This story to me has so many different layers. Because you do start, listen, as a paranormal researcher, someone who loves this stuff, but we also do a lot of things about mental illness because there is that, Venn diagram. It's a thin line sometimes. I actually think most people who believe in the paranormal are 100% normal. And most people who experience the paranormal are 100% normal and sane. When I say normal, that they're not insane. When I say a thin line, there is a bit of an overlap, but I don't think it's that most people who believe in the paranormal are nuts or anything like that. But we do cover gang-stalking stories on this show. We do cover stories of mental illness because I do find that they do exist in that gray area where you go, is this a sincere mental illness or is this a paranormal story? And when I read this, obviously I'm thinking this guy has lost it. This guy believes that there are people living in a ceiling. There's not really physical people living in the ceiling. When I'm reading it, I go, there's not actually people living up there. I did have a question over how the camera got there, which we kind of get a little bit of information towards the end. But I go, this is a mental illness. He's hallucinating these things. He's hearing these voices. They're being very mean to him, which we do see in a lot of cases of severe mental illness. It's very rarely a uplifting voice. It's usually something demanding and cruel and scary. It'd be the same thing, whether or not this guy has some sort of biological mental health issue, or it's simply brought on through drug use, or drug use created it, and it's aggravated by drug use. I mean, it could be 100 different things going on, right? I'm reading and I go, this is a story about mental illness and a guy experiencing this in such a bizarre way. It seems so alien to many of us. But the ending makes you wonder if there was a spiritual component to all of this. Because they did, if it was a mental illness, if it was strictly all in his head, moving away from the location, I mean, you could argue maybe he does less drugs now. That would definitely help the mental health struggle. But if you have a diagnosable mental illness and you move from one location to another, it doesn't mean that the schizophrenia goes away. There could be some aggravating factors that are going on that may add to stress, that may make certain symptoms worse, I guess, but it's very interesting. He moved away. His life is better, like the voices predicted, and it's very interesting because he goes, I sometimes listen for the voices, but they are never quite like they were at that house. So does that mean he hears them very faintly? Does that mean he doesn't hear them at all? Because he's trying to listen for it, and maybe he hears something that he thinks might be. If it's a hallucination, it should have followed him. But it didn't. So again, it's a really interesting story. Was there let's say a 90% mental illness and a 10% spiritual dimension to this? That they were actually trying to drive him mad and ruin his life? It could be 100% mental illness. I don't think it was 100% spiritual. I don't think that he was a totally normal person until demons moved into his walls. I don't think that's the case. I don't know for sure, I wasn't there, but that's just not the read I get off of it. Something could have latched onto his mental illness to kind of aggravate it, but I really think it was mostly that, because so many of the indicators are there, plus the drug use. But the way it ends, you go, well, I don't know. And the big question, like I could see, if you're hallucinating things, you can hallucinate or forget doing something, i.e. installing a camera in the bedroom ceiling. But did he put that there? Or did someone else put that there? And if it was just the camera watching him, that's one thing that's weird. The fact that there are underage kids in that room, again, raises the creep level. But somebody found it. They saw it. They discussed it. The camera was real. Who put it there? Could have been him. And I know mental illness is tricky, but it's super weird to think. Because remember, he saw another hole getting drilled into a ceiling. So imagine having a hallucination where you are drilling a hole through the ceiling because you want to install another camera. And yet when you remember it, you're laying on your bed looking up at the drill coming through the ceiling. Like that is just like a next level hallucination. You're doing something and at the same time hallucinating it from a different angle. He saw the power drill come through, but he would have been the one with the power drill. So I don't know. Absolutely fascinating story. It did have a bunch of funny stuff. You guys might not have thought it was that funny because you go, Jason, this guy's really sad and he suffers from mental illness. You're right. That stuff wasn't funny, but the food stuff was kind of funny. Food stuff was kind of funny. But anyways, fascinating story. I really do hope that his life is better and continues to get better. I think that would be the best outcome for everybody. But as far as the story goes, like what actually happened in that house? It went over the course of years. And again, that's so weird, right? For it to last so long, and then he moves and it just goes away. Fascinating story. Spiritual component, mental illness component. Was I wrong? Was there actually physical people living in the ceiling? Either one of those scenarios are just terrifying in and of themselves. There might have been this weird mixture going on that we can't really figure out, and neither could Darren. He couldn't figure it out either. He'll probably either completely forget about the whole thing in a couple years, or he'll spend the rest of his life puzzled over that. But I actually think he won't be puzzled, and I don't think he'll forget about it. I think he'll always remember it. And I think because that was a time where, despite everything they put him through, he truly felt that he was not alone. He truly believed that he had friends. That he won't fear these memories, he'll cherish them. And the only bad experience I think he'll take away from all of this is the fact that now the voices are gone. I think that'll be his biggest takeaway. His friends, while they gave him some good advice, they left him all alone. So much so that even now he hopes to hear those voices once more. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal conspiracy and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, and I'm glad you listened to it.